Practitioners of this methodology are short-sighted. What do I mean by this? The practitioners of this philosophy focus on the short game, not the long game. In the game of golf, you have to master the short and the long. Hopefully, in life, you are mastering the short and the long. You need short-term planning and long-term planning. And many of the people who adopt this strategy are not thinking long-term. They're living for today. That is not a viable strategy for the long term. Number two, hey, welcome to my channel. My name is Curtis A. Merriweather Jr. And in 2020, I was named a game changer by the White House Policy Advisor for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. And I want to serve as your government contracting coach. Now, the goal of this channel is to educate government contractors. So I help government contractors overcome common business challenges by providing education, consultation, and training support services. Now, our education is based on 26 years of progressive experience. As many of you all know, last weekend, I was hooded and received my PhD in management from a very prestigious institution. So we want to, on our channel, we want to provide practical as well as theoretical education based on lessons learned and 26 plus years of progressive experience. As many of you guys know, I started government contracting in high school, and I have progressively moved up the ranks. I've been an owner of a government contracting firm for well over a decade. To be exact, about 15 years, I've been an owner of a government contracting firm. So we want you to be able to leverage our expertise and our training and our lessons learned, the highs and the lows, the ebbs and the flow. We want you to be able to leverage that on this channel, so you won't make some of the same mistakes I made. You may make some different ones, but hopefully you won't make the same ones I've made. And we want to lower your learning curve. All right. Now, if you have not already, I want you to go to 8figuregovcon.com. I want you to look around, read, peruse, and I eventually want you to find yourself on our course store library. And I want you to look and see which one of our courses or our products would be best in helping you accelerate your government contracting journey. Now, our two flagship programs are the 8-Figure GovCon Mastery 5X Bundle. That's for all things government contracting. And our newest offering, Government Contracting for Barbers and Cosmetologists. Either one of those programs will help you accelerate your learning and get you revenue positive sooner than you would have learning on your own. Now, before I jump into my topic today, if you have not already, I want you to subscribe. I want you to share, and I want you to like. Subscribe, share, and like. Now, I have a topic today that I said I was not going to address again. However, I keep looking in my inbox and keep getting comments about this topic that I was not going to talk about. Now, before I even tell you what we're going to talk about today, and by no means am I attacking anyone, this is just my opinion of this strategy, which I detest for a whole lot of reasons. So a few months back, a colleague and I did a YouTube interview on my YouTube channel talking about this strategy. And we put the FAR clauses in the descriptions. We talked about it online, and people were still in my inbox telling me, Kurt, this cannot be illegal. So we're going to attack this from a different perspective today. We can debate, we can choose to agree or disagree about how to interpret the FAR, the Federal Acquisition Regulation. We can debate, we can choose to agree or disagree, and that's okay. And I'm not going to do that with you all today. So, since the FAR clauses, the Federal Acquisition Regulation, known as the Bible, for government contracting was not enough for most people, they want to tell me, how is it possible this is illegal? There's a person in history, not too long ago in history, named Bernie Madoff. Bernie Madoff swindled millions he swindled billions. And he was very reputable. He was well liked in the community, and he swindled many. Now, I'm not calling the propagators of middleman strategy swindlers. I'm not doing that. But my point is, it does not take a lot to convince the masses. So I'm going to give you some thoughts, and you be the judge. Like I say, by no means are we intending to spew hate and discontent. Not doing that. I've had the opportunity to be on platforms with many people, and it's not just one, that promote this strategy. I think the people who are teaching this have well intention. However, I'm seeing many people negatively impacted. I have the DM messages and receipts to substantiate what I'm saying. I'm not here to stop anyone's bag at all. What I am here to do is I want you to be thoughtful in your approach. So today, I've kind of gave it away a little bit. I am going to talk about the 5 reasons to avoid middleman strategy. So I'm going to do a brief recap. I'm going to get my notes up here because I don't want to miss anything. So, number 1, we talked about this in the video. I'm going to talk about it very briefly. This is not part of my 5 points, by the way. This is just the cherry on top. And this is what got this conversation started in the first place. So, the middleman strategy still is, whether you agree or disagree, and it does not matter to me either way if you agree or disagree. If you do not trust me, talk to a reputable lawyer. I will happily point you toward one if you so desire. Everyone, if you are starting to take on some strategies that are a little nuanced, you should be consulting legal counsel. Doesn't matter what I say or anyone else says, you have to protect your own business. I would hope you wouldn't blindly go down a path, find yourself in trouble, and have not consulted with legal experts before taking a path. But it humors me when I find people who've been in this space for a year, 6 months, 2 years, 3 years, who want to challenge me on some of these rules that have been in place for quite some time. As you guys know, this rule in particular was updated not long ago. But I'm going to talk about it briefly. And again, this conversation is not going to be centered around the FAR at all. But in the limitations of subcontracting clause, I'll leave the description in the description box below this video. This rule applies in 2 situations. As you know, we should be doing 51% of the work, more than 50%. 51-49 is the rule of thumb. You should not be subbing out all of your work. And then someone was in my inbox talking about similarly situated. I was the very first channel on YouTube to talk about similarly situated firms. Please. The rule applies in 2 situations. When a contract is set aside for a small business that has a value above the simplified acquisition threshold. And that's where most people stop. Number 2, so this rule applies in multiple cases. When a contract is set aside or sole source for the AABD program, many of you guys know it's 8A, the SDVOSB, that's the Service Disabled Veteran-Owned Small Business, the VOSB, Veteran-Owned Small Business, WOSB, Woman-Owned Small Business, EDWOSB, Economically Advantaged Woman-Owned Small Business, or Hub Zone Participation. The subcontracting clause, limitation of subcontracting clause applies. In summary, The limitations of subcontracting does not apply to simplified acquisitions. However, it does apply to any award made using a social economic set aside, regardless of dollar amount. Newsflash: a small business set aside is a set aside. If it is not full and open, meaning anyone can bid on it, it is a set aside by definition. And then similarly situated, I was the first person on this channel on YouTube that I'm aware of. And if I'm wrong, please drop a link in the description or in the comment section and let me know. But I was the first channel on YouTube, to my knowledge, that talked about similarly situated firms. So do not be trying to give me an education on something I've been doing for longer than some of y'all been driving a vehicle. I'm just saying. Number one, let me get into what I really want to talk about today. Practitioners of this methodology are short-sighted. What do I mean by this? The practitioners of this philosophy focus on the short game, not the long game. In the game of golf, you have to master the short and the long. Hopefully in life, you are mastering the short and the long. You need short-term planning and long-term planning. And many of the people who adopt this strategy are not thinking long-term. They're living for today. That is not a viable strategy for the long term. Number two, long-range planning is non-existent in this strategy. See, here's the reality. Real money is made on the exit. And because how many of the folks who employ this strategy, now I'm not saying they're being taught this, but what I am saying is how the strategy is being employed. It is very short-term focused, therefore unsustainable. You need to think about the end from the beginning. So it is a reality that you can make some money along the way, but the most money is made on the exit. When you create something of value that other people find interesting and they're willing to pay a premium at some point down the road, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, 20 years, however long you're going to stay in the game, and based on the robustness of your strategy, how quick or how fast it takes you to get there. The money is made on the exit. But I got far too many people getting enamored by these large contract volumes, especially my service-based people. Half of your money is going toward payroll. So if you have not set this up well, you won't even make it to the exit. You can get the 20 million, the 30 million, the 100 million, the $200 million windfall at the end of the freaking rainbow. That's what we should be doing here. But I get people who get caught up on their $100,000 award. $100,000, $6 million is nothing in government contracting. You're talking about a multi-trillion-dollar space, and we're arguing over peanuts. See, many of the people in this strategy are short-sighted. They ain't in it for the long haul. They're not in it for the game changer. So y'all believe the delusion that $5,000 is going to change your life. See, here's what I know about the psychology of people. The more money you make, the more money you spend. But see, when you get to the end of that rainbow, and it's a 20 million, 50 million, $100 million, $250 million payday because you're doing the things I teach, that's life changer. Talk to any real wealth advisor and they'll tell you after you buy your toys and you spend 20 and you got $20 million invested, you'll never have to work again if you don't want to. You can live off the interest. But that's after you done paid your taxes. That's after you done bought your house. That's after you done did all the things on your wish list. And you got 20 million with the right wealth advisor, you ain't ever got to do this again unless you want to. But I move on. Number two, this strategy, the middleman strategy, lacks a risk management philosophy. Practitioners of this strategy do not understand risk management and the balance of risk based on contract type. You know, different contract types talks about a balance of risk. Financing. How do I fund a new enterprise? Entrepreneurial finance versus corporate finance. I hope you're not trying to use corporate finance for your small business because it will not work. Corporate finance assumes that money is not a problem. That is not the situation with most first-time small business owners in the govcon space. I hope you're looking at this thing from an entrepreneurial finance perspective. If you go try to do the stuff you learned in business school for your small bootstrap company, you're going to bankrupt yourself. Moving on. Teaming and stakeholder engagement. The middleman strategy as it stands does not do a good job of this. It doesn't understand the proper balance in team dynamics. It doesn't do a good job in the legality, the improper legal structure and supporting documents. You know, often the guidance I get is go to LegalZoom or Legal Depot and get your NDAs and your TAs and your subcase. Those documents out the box will not support you. You need an attorney who understands this space and is going to protect you. Now, I'm a big believer that the documents that we often sign are only as good as the person you're getting into business with. So if they're a crook and they're shady, that document ain't gonna do so much. But you need to know who you're getting in business with. However, it does not mean that you not put these documents in place to protect you. Because trust me, if the shoe's on the other foot, and you find yourself in a subcontracting agreement with the big boys, they are going to put documents in place that are going to protect them and their interests. So why would you take blind documents off LegalZoom, Legal Depot, who have no understanding about your business, and send that out to a prime or subcontractor, and think it's going to give you the legal protection that you need? How is a $200 document going to give you the protection that you need when you're trying to do millions in this space? Sounds crazy. But you need to understand how to accept risk, avoid risk, mitigate risk, and transfer the risk. So as I move on to my next step, number one, in my first point, I talked about practitioners are short-sighted. I need you to become long-term focused. Why are you getting in government contracting in the first place? What value are you trying to do to change the world? Now I recognize everybody's not trying to be trying to be in this space to make 9 figures or 10 figures. I get that. But you need to understand, are you a lifestyle entrepreneur? Are you a growth entrepreneur? Are you a social entrepreneur? Based on your strategy, it's going to determine how you're going to move in this space. But you haven't even identified that, but yet you're blindly applying strategies. I'm just saying, you need to understand risk management. Now, I'm not saying that you got to understand everything, but you do need to have a team that can help you put these things in place. When I got started, I didn't know all this either. However, I'm exposing you to it so you know what you should be looking for in a teammate. Let me move on. Number 3, the middleman strategy fails horribly in stakeholder management. It alleges that primes are not in a position of power. You say, Kurt, why would you say that? Because see, we putting in prime contracts. You know, we got a $6 million win here, 250 over here. That. But see, you are delegating all the work to people who are not even employees of the company. You know, I've heard stories where a company will win a huge contract and then they go and try to hire the subcontractor to do all the work. Why would you do that? Why would you delegate all the work to someone that's not even the company? Because see, what happens is if there becomes a rift in the relationship, that subcontractor that you've sent 100% of the work to, or 60% of the work to, because you're doing a little bit, you know, you're sitting on the beach, sending laptops and you ain't doing no work. See, you don't have no control. So at any moment that subcontracting company on paper that you've given all the responsibility to, if they want to sabotage your contract, you've given them all the power. What boss really does that? See, because they tell me, y'all, you want to be a boss. Bosses don't operate that way. Bosses maintain, monitor, control, and execute on all their stuff, and they hold all the power. So in this approach, the middleman strategy, there's an over-reliance on contractors, subcontractors, and others. You're giving all the power away. You'll be holding to the sub, and disastrous things can ensue and jeopardize the overall performance of the contract. Do you know how to identify, manage, and monitor stakeholder engagement? You got to build an internal and an external team of partners. But you should always be in the power position. You should never abdicate your responsibility. See, because boss step up to the plate. And they're going to handle the business, which is what we should be doing if we're going to play this game called government contracting. Number 4, I'm moving on. The middleman strategy does not address cost management smartly. They don't do it smartly. So they want you to go around and call, 5, 10, 100 companies, get their costs and just throw this nominal fee on top, not even understanding the cost structure of the business. Do they even understand cost pools? Are you setting aside the right amount of money for direct labor, overhead, G&A, fringe, and profitability? See, what oftentimes happens when you do this strategy, a lot of the entrepreneurs I've come across who've used this strategy, they win the contract and then find out they don't have enough money in the contract to support their costs. So if you run up across somebody like me, I'm going to crush you. You can't win because you don't have staying power because you still don't understand your cost. They lack the tools for cost controls, monitoring, and execution. Now, I'm not an accountant, but I hire accountants. I hire smart people. I hire cost accountants and tax attorneys. You don't have to know how to, and they are all on retainer with the company. The middleman strategy does not address cost accurately. The middleman costing processes do not address your real costs. They address perceived costs, the costs that you can think of off the top of your head, but you ain't even think about the indirects. See, total cost equals fixed cost plus variable cost. That's basic accounting. What are those direct costs? What are those indirects? What are those variable costs? If this contract go away, how does that affect my wrap rate? Middleman strategy doesn't account for any of that. Many times, a lot of these entrepreneurs don't even have an accounting system in place. They don't understand how to plan costs, estimate costs, determine budget, and control costs. Now, I am not implying that the entrepreneur is doing all this, but who's on your team? Who's on your team supporting you as supporting cast? Well, no, you're too busy trying to sit on the beach. You done lost the contract even before you won it. Costs should be addressed in the pricing and management volume of solicitation. But see, y'all just putting words on paper and you don't have no plan to execute what you wrote down, if you even understand what you wrote. See, cost realism is a real thing. See, the federal government should be doing cost testing, but because sometimes y'all giving away the bag with pennies on the dollar at these unbelievable prices, they go ahead and give you a shot at the prize, sometimes knowing you're not going to keep that contract. But everybody want to shout out their awards. But then they're in my inbox telling me, how do I rescue my contract? And I've done this. And I'm like, who told you to do that? But moving on. Number 5, the middleman trap has a flawed approach to human resources management. It fails to develop a robust corporate culture due to lack of focus. They're too busy. They don't want to do no work. They want maximum profitability for minimum input. Tell me where that works at. It does not facilitate development of a human resources plan. It does not address the retention and recruiting methodology. And now this is something you are supposed to be addressing in the management volume of most proposals. The federal government wants to know how you're going to recruit and retain the staff. And even if you got a product buy, there should still be some methodology for how you do what you do. And then last but not least, I've seen a lot of unethical and questionable hiring practices. I'm just saying. Now, you say, Kurt, what's the takeaway? Well, the takeaway is this. If you're going to play this game called government contracting, I need you to think about the end from the beginning. Now, when you get started, you're not going to know everything. None of us know everything. But I need you to put around you a dream team of practitioners that's going to help you build a solid, reputable, repeatable, scalable business. Most of the businesses I see who use middleman strategy, quite frankly, are not scalable. They're not sustainable. They're definitely not repeatable. And there's nothing someone wants to buy at the end of the rainbow in 5, 10 years because you ain't built nothing that got some staying power. You don't see Nike bidding on, Nike does shoes. You don't see them today going after a contract in painting. Tomorrow, a contract in pressure washing. The next day, a contract in marble painting. They're not doing all that. But a lot of the middleman companies I see, they have no focus. They have no niche. They are not differentiated in any shape, form, or fashion. They do not have any type of special sauce on how they're going to do service delivery, user experience. And it doesn't mean you got to come sit in a brick and mortar to get a user experience and service delivery quality. And these are the things that the middleman strategy, quite frankly, does not address. Now, no shade. I don't think many of the practitioners in that who teach that methodology know it. That's why they tell you to just sub everything out and, sit on the beach and send out some emails and get an invoice. And let me say this for the record. Project management is more than coordinating and sending an invoice. That is not doing business. If that is your definition for doing business, please don't come over here. If you look at the methodology, there are 49 process areas in project management alone, based on which one you adopt. There are more than 9 knowledge areas, and there are 5 managed process groups. So you got a total of 49 process areas. So when you want to tell me that it's just about sending the invoice and coordinating, what about the integration? What about scope management? What about schedule management? What about cost management? What about quality and resource management, communication management, risk management, procurement management, stakeholder engagement management? What about what happens when the contract's new and you initiate it? What happens at the end when you are closing out a project, but in the middle you didn't plan and execute it and monitored and control? Don't play with me. This is real business. Well, that's all I want to tell y'all today. I'm getting ready to get out of here, but I want to give you more than just the FAR. Because see, I recognize that for the FAR, for many of you, the FAR ain't enough. So I want to give you some tangible areas of where the middleman strategy falls short. Now, those are the areas, if you're going to be a true force in this space, that you have to reckon. Number 1, I need you to think about the long game and the short. Number 2, I need you to get your hands around risk. Number 3, I need to make sure you know how to identify, manage, and monitor your stakeholder engagement. Number 4, you need to get a good handle on your costing. And number 5, you better handle this thing called HR. And I don't care if you're a product company or if you're a service company, we all need people. We all need people in our company who are helping us do something greater than ourselves. So you better get a handle on those 5 things. Number 1, you better be thinking about the long and the short. Number 2, you better get your arms around this risk. Are we managing the risk? Are we mitigating the risk? Are we transferring the risk? Are we accepting the risk? And what does that look like? Number 3, I better understand how to identify, manage, and monitor my stakeholders. Number 4, I better get a handle on my costs. I better know how to plan, budget, and execute upon that cost schedule that I put in place. And if there's a hiccup, hopefully I did some front planning with my finance people, with my money people, to make sure I have the money that I need to cover the shortfall. And we go to the bank when we don't need money. We don't go to the bank when we're in desperation. But if you ain't thinking long term, you didn't even see that hiccup in your schedule and the cost schedule coming. And then last but not least, please get a robust HR plan. You don't have to do all this, but you better hire a team of people internal to the company under W-2 who are beholden to you, who are going to be loyal to you and say, you know what, General, let's go off into the sunset with this. That's what you better do. But I'm out of time. Hey, I hope you found this conversation helpful and enlightening. And go back and watch some of my other videos. But subscribe, share, leave me a comment, and definitely like the video. And I'll see y'all on the next video. Until next time.